What's up, guys? Today I decided to talk about something that's kind of been on my mind lately and kind of been topical as well. And it's related to the current state of gaming. And to be more specific, I'm talking about physical media. It was recently announced that Grand Theft Auto 6 would only be released digitally upon its release day, with an apparent physical version coming later. And soon after that announcement, Sony announced that they would stop making physical media in 2028, January of 2028, to be more specific. And I've said it before and I'll say it again. If there's nothing physical that I can own, I'm just pretty much gonna dip out. I'm of the generation to where pretty much everything was physical. Being in my 30s, there was a time when you bought a game or a movie or what have you, and the whole thing would be on the disc or cartridge, and things were good. You'd buy the game, you'd put it in the system, and you'd play it. Around the 360 and PS3 era, though, games became more complex, and a few required you to actually install the game onto the console, but this was usually optional. I actually do recommend installing all your games to the hard drive because it does make them run a lot smoother. It's a requirement for current day games, but like I said, the option on the 360 era. And with games getting bigger and file sizes getting larger, it's not surprising that eventually the games become too big for the disc. Although technically most games can fit on a disc. The PS5 disc, for instance, actually holds up to 100 gigabytes. And most games aren't 100 gigabytes, but there are several exceptions, so I can understand part of the game being online or having to be installed and things like that. And so I guess it was only inevitable that things were just going to eventually become completely digital. My problem is, this doesn't have to be this way, and I will explain. Pretty much every game these days has to be installed to a console to really run properly. But if you actually look at media storage, it's actually gotten a lot better over the years. Hell, you get a tiny SD card that can hold up to 2 terabytes of data, which is bigger than any game you could think of. So theoretically, if they wanted to make game cartridges, kind of like, say, the ones on the Switch, for instance, they theoretically could make games that the whole thing could fit on the cart still. It would just still have to be installed, obviously. But when it comes to corporate greed, that's just not the case, and they want to control everything you do, and they just want you to own a temporary license for things, and that's really how I feel. And I guess there was a point where this was going to happen. See, games weren't always mainstream. A lot of people might find that surprising. Where now the video game industry makes more money than the film industry, that wasn't always the case. I was an early adopter of games, obviously. I really enjoyed them back in the 90s and even when I was a kid in the early 2000s. But not everyone I knew played games. Now, pretty much everyone and their grandma plays games, even if it's just mobile games and things like that. But I've never been a fan of online only. I don't really play online much. I'm kind of a single player guy. I still enjoy couch co op, like sitting next to your buddy playing Mario Kart or one of the early Halos and stuff like that. But I'm not a huge online guy. But I get that there's always been a market for it. And hell, I'm not even totally against it. I've bought games digitally that I just wanted to try. I mean, I do prefer physical, but there is a convenience to online, obviously. And I get that a lot of people buy their games digitally. But what you have to understand is if you buy something digitally, you don't really own it. At any point, they can just take it away. Sony, once again, as an example, recently took away 500 or so movies off of their platform that people had bought. And when they took those movies away, they also lost the licenses to those movies because they had to return them to the original rights holders. And guess what? Even though you bought the damn movie from Sony, it is gone off your console. The moment you connect to the internet, it's gone. And funnily enough, this is actually not a modern thing. I had a buddy of mine who actually purchased, I believe it was a Marvel pinball game he had on his 360 or maybe his Xbox One. He actually lost the rights to that game because Xbox, I guess, had lost the rights to use those characters, and the game literally disappeared from his hard drive. Once he connected to the internet, no refund, tough titty, enjoy your long-term rental, asshole. And I think that's really a damn shame. Look, nothing lasts forever, but if I purchase something, I think it should be mine. I don't think that's a crazy concept. Even if I pass on from this mortal coil, it'd be great to pass on the things I own to my family members in the future, and you can't even do that with digital. It's just like a long-term rental thing. There's always been a place for digital media, and it's nothing new. Like I said, even I've bought digital games over the years. I even pay for the Switch Online service, which lets you play a lot of the classic games, mostly because they're super expensive. There is a place for it, but when I have them like Switch Online, I know I'm just paying for essentially a service on a yearly plan. So I know when the plan runs out, I can't play the games anymore, much like anything else. However, I'm only playing with the service and not the games themselves. If I was to buy games off the marketplace and then somehow the rights get all screwed up or they lose them and then it just gets taken from my system, well, I guess I never really fucking owned it, did I? And forgive me for getting so angry here, but I just think it's such a damn shame that people allowed this to happen. And I think that consumers really should have the right to keep something once they purchase it. I don't know if this comes down to changing the laws or what. And I understand licensing, but licensing should not stretch out to something that you've already bought. If the rights holders change, but I already own it, well, that's tough city. Like, for example, let's say I buy Dirty Harry on 4K, which I actually did. This is before Warner Brothers got bought by Paramount, but now that Paramount owns it, well, guess what? I still own Dirty Harry on 4K, and they can't have it. However, if I bought it digitally, there is a good chance that I could lose the rights to it. And I thought I'd just kind of rant on this, and it's something that's really bothered me. And I don't know what this means for games going forward. It's just not like it used to be. You know, first-party companies don't release games as fast as they used to. Heck, I remember when I was a kid, Rare released, I think it was 9 or 10 different games on the N64 alone in only like a 6-year period. You just don't see that anymore. A major company, if you're lucky, might release one game every other year, and that's if they're really rushing it. And that's understandable with things getting bigger and file sizes getting larger and whatnot. But I don't think this is for convenience, like Sony's trying to tell people. It's like, oh, it's just, that's what people like is digital games. It'll be okay. Make no mistake, this is all about control. They don't want you to own anything. They want you to basically pay for these temporary services, enjoy them, and if they get taken away, oh well, hopefully it gets re-released at some point where you can buy it again. Line up sheep, get ready for the slop. It's just so disappointing. And this could easily extend to other forms of media as well. It's why I still buy 4K movies. If I love a movie, I'm going to buy it physically. But if they start doing this with films as well, well, then I really will be pissed. And they can't use the file size excuse because pretty much any movie can fit on 2 discs, even the really huge ones. So it's just a matter of corporate greed, and I just think it's a damn shame. Gaming used to be such a fun thing that anyone could do, and you had the rights to all the stuff, and anything you owned was yours. But now, it's all based just a large rental service. Anything you have can be taken away at any moment. It's going to get worse, and I'm definitely not looking forward to a PlayStation 6 or an Xbox, whatever the hell. Thankfully, Nintendo still has physical cartridges, but even those are just game keys, but at least there's something physical there. But even those could be taken away theoretically. It's such a shame, and I could see this honestly realistically being my last time I buy it from a console generation. You might as well just be a PC gamer if it's going to be all digital, but I digress. So I just thought I'd get that off my chest. I really hope that in the future this may be reversed and they can see there's a love and a need for physical media. And hell, if another company was to come along and like make a new console that used physical games exclusively, maybe Sega will come back with a Dreamcast too. Who knows? Though that's just me being silly, really. But it would be nice. And I'd say if the market is shitty, strike while the iron's hot. Somebody should rise up, someone with deep enough pockets, and maybe create some competition that has exclusively physical games, maybe on like terabyte cartridges or something. Who knows? My point is, it's not like we're all doomed and this is just going to be the future, but I do feel, at the very least, it's going to get a lot worse before it gets better. Let me know how you feel about this digital situation going forward, and if you're a physical media guy, or if you just prefer digital, which is fine, but it has its downsides. Let me know your thoughts down below. I thank y'all for watching, and peace out.
Drop the gun, creep! I'll blow his brains out! Drop the fucking gun! Huh?